Hello and welcome back to Invincible Asia. I'm George Clark and this is another episode of Deep Impact. In fact, it's the first bonus episode of Deep Impact because in my hands I now hold the holy grail of Impact Action Movie Magazine, the very first issue featuring Van Damme in Double Impact. I am super excited to get stuck into this, super excited to share it with you. Let's go Deep Impact. Don't forget folks, before we go any further, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, ring the bell and all that jibber jabber, and thank you very much for supporting Invincible Asia. So yeah, I recently found this on eBay with a few other issues from the same year and at a very reasonable price, so how could I resist? Now of course the first thing I've instantly noticed is that it isn't nearly as thick as the issues I had collected from January 1994 onwards, and this was offered at the lower price of £1.50 as it was their special launch issue. Now, as mentioned, the main focus is on Van Damme's fantastic Double Impact and offers a free giant Van Damme poster magazine inside. A poster magazine that is missing from this pre-owned debut issue. Now below him we have Clint Eastwood and Arnie helping to highlight the star power coverage inside, but to be honest, it's a very bland design overall, almost fanzine in its look, and like many issues from this year, doesn't carry the names of who's covered inside around the trim. Still, I'm very excited to finally have my hands on it and share with you, so let's get stuck in. Now these first two pages just instantly scream 1992 in their layout and design, although I love this ad for the Bruce Lee videos on page 2. Ironically, the only two titles of this particular collection that I don't have. Talk about rubbing salt in the wounds. Now opposite we have got the contents and editorial. No Baywatch here, clearly he was being a bit more modest in this first issue, but you can also see from the list of contents just how sparse it is compared to later issues. Quite possibly the gappiest contents listing I have ever seen in an Impact magazine. But we do see two regular features that continued throughout with the Lightning Rod and China Beat. Bay Logan's editorial does make for an interesting read though, so let me get stuck into that. Hi, welcome to Impact, the action movie magazine, the first British publication that deals exclusively with the kind of films you like to see. Each and every month, Impact will offer you in-depth and up-to-date coverage on all the latest and greatest in high-caliber, high-concept filmmaking. In this issue, for instance, we bring you exclusive coverage on the new Jean-Claude Van Damme blockbuster Double Impact, together with a free full-colour poster magazine insert. We also give you the inside story on how Arnold Schwarzenegger beat the odds in Terminator 2. Plus we offer a retrospective of the man responsible for putting martial arts into mainstream cinema, the little dragon himself, Bruce Lee. As if that wasn't enough, we also feature one of the greatest action stars ever, Clint Eastwood, in an overview of his tough cop movies. As if that wasn't enough, we also have the first installment of our regular news and views columns, the first detailing action movie happenings stateside, and the second covering the ever more popular Hong Kong movie actioneer scene. In the months to come, we'll be interviewing, profiling and featuring the likes of Sylvester Stallone, Jackie Chan, Brian Bosworth, Cynthia Rothrock, Charles Bronson, Steven Seagal, Mel Gibson, Donnie Yen, Jeff Speakman, Sammo Hung, Hulk Hogan, Yukari Oshima, and many, many more. What's most important is that we find out what you, our radioactive readers, want to see Jesus Christ, want to see in what is sure to become your favourite all-action monthly, so write in and tell us. As I mentioned at the top of the page, this inaugural issue of Impact focuses on the latest offering from that Belgian bombshell, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I first met the muscles from Brussels about 4 years ago when he whistle-stopped through London en route for Thailand, where he was to shoot Kickboxer. His movie Bloodsport was already a cult classic of the genre, but he had yet to become the idol of millions that he is today. Subsequent to that first meeting, I've talked with Jean-Claude on the phone a few times, and during the AWOL promotional tour, conducted a photo shoot and interview with him. He has always been the epitome of courtesy and professionalism in his dealings with me, and I'm delighted that he has become such a huge success all over the world. For some reason, he has never really had the press attention he deserves in this country. Hopefully this feature and our continued coverage of his films will help to change that. As it is, I'm delighted to welcome Van Damme and yourselves to the first issue of Impact. Enjoy. Bay Logan, Editor. And below that, the team behind the magazine is laid out like the film credits on a film poster, or video cover, DVD cover, etc., whatever generation you're from, with Bay Logan as the director, and where it states screenplay, clearly highlighting the writers involved, we have Andy Stanton, Lorraine Avedon, Rick Baker from Eastern Heroes, Big Mike Leader himself, and Rick Mayers. Below that, we see Po-Ling Choi listed as the assistant to the director. Moving on. Overleaf, a 5-page write-up on Arnie's epic Terminator 2 kicks things off, with these first 2 pages certainly grabbing your attention. Extreme prejudice. Terminator 2 beats the odds. Arnold Schwarzenegger helms Hollywood's hottest summer actioneer. And there's me thinking that it was James Cameron that directed it. What a start. I'll just read the opening paragraph. The success of Terminator 2 has depressed a lot of people. All the pundits who said that a $200 million movie could never make its money back have had to swallow the fact that, by the end of the year, T2 will have made almost that figure in domestic box office revenue alone. Outside America, of course, the film has been a runaway hit, packing in audiences worldwide. All the other Hollywood muscle merchants have had to accept the faultless precision with which Arnold Schwarzenegger has chosen his film projects. With barely a foot wrong since the original Terminator, the big guy has firmly established himself as the action star of his generation, and quite possibly of all time. High-concept special effects filmmakers also have little to thank director James Cameron for. In Terminator 2 Judgment Day, he has made the high-caliber effects actioneer that renders all predecessors and most of its current crop of rivals obsolete. Terminator 2 has kicked the careers of all involved into a higher gear and has thrown the American action movie into a whole new ballgame. I mean, how can you not love T2? It is a pretty incredible movie. Over the page, the write-up continues with a great shot of Linda Hamilton and another of Arnie with a young Robert Patrick, along with the quote, "It's nothing personal," but I really love this shot overleaf. This full-length promo shot of Arnie in full Terminator mode, just how epic is that picture? Okay, so this page ends the article with some notes on the release of the film, stating that the production company behind T2, Carolco, suspended release of all of its other films to concentrate on the launch of Judgment Day. Promotion for Terminator 2 included a phone-in T2 challenge, Terminator 2 trading cards, T2 Judgment Day apparel, and a science fiction convention devoted entirely to T2 with director and stars in attendance. Very cool, and such an amazing movie. I only wish I was a wee bit older when it first came out so I could enjoy the hype built up around it then. Saying that, it is a movie I wouldn't mind checking out in 4K pretty soon. On page 9 we have the first competition of Impact magazine, where you can win a copy of Steven Seagal's Out for Justice, which is right beside an ad for the film. God, remember when Steven actually looked like an action star? Here's your chance to win one of 5 super copies of Steven Seagal's most recent action movie, Out for Justice, which Impact is giving away absolutely free. That's not the point of a competition. To win, simply answer the following questions correctly and write them on a postcard, sending them to Impact, blah 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 blah. Oh dear God. Below that we have 2 ads that ran for years and years in Impact magazine. One to help you build instant sex appeal and the other to build muscles. They look like they were designed in the late 70s, but I always wondered just how many people actually signed up for them if they ran those ads for so long. Absolute madness. On page 10 and 11, we get a double page spread on the fun Delta Force 3, The Killing Game, the second sequel to the Chuck Norris original, and although he doesn't star in this one, his son Mike Norris does. American Ninja director Sam Furstenberg handles the reins, but I don't think it's a film that's ever been hailed as an action classic, to be honest. On page 12, we get the lightning rod, which, compared to later issues featuring this section, looks more like an electric shock with its lack of content and poor design. Our monthly dose of news, views and bolts from the blue, bringing you up to date on heroic happenings in the high concept sphere. Jesus Christ. Sequel fever, do action flick reruns, still rake it in? The last 12 months have seen various press reports concerning the death of the big budget actioneer. This is hilarious, right after T2, of course. Frequently, the hugely over-budgeted Die Hard 2 Die Harder is cited as an example of an eagerly awaited follow-up that fizzled, and smaller, more intimate, and perhaps more importantly, cheaper films such as Ghost and Pretty Woman are held up as examples of how films should be made. Very different genres there. Quite why reviewers and other pundits need to critique the budget of a film is beyond me. While they're at it, why not review the location catering? What matters is what ends up on the screen. Absolutely, I agree. It's interesting that they have a shot of Predator 2 here when it literally only mentions one line about it on the other page. Predator 2 suffered after it lost Arnold and gained Lethal Weapon star Danny Glover. Of course, most of the spread is taken up by this shot of Bruce Willis flying through the air from Die Hard 2, and over the page, it focuses on Highlander 2, while the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles get a small mention. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 on the other claw, Jesus, came out just in time to catch the tail end of the Turtles bandwagon. Will there be a Turtles 3? Golden Harvest aren't saying, but a Canadian production company report that they have received an inquiry about shooting the film in that country. Short and sweet. Interesting stuff, because we do know that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 did come out, and for those of you that didn't know, Golden Harvest were the main production company behind all three. Now opposite, we get the start of the Double Impact article, a 3-page spread that should have also contained that poster mag, but hey. In Hollywood, when all is said and done, more is said than done. Much more. With this in mind, it's amazing that films ever get made, and truly extraordinary for a young action actor to take his dream project from idea to reality in the space of but a few years. However, when I first met action star Jean-Claude Van Damme 4 years ago, he and Rambo 3 screenwriter Sheldon Littich, his close friend and collaborator, detailed for me their planned remake of the Alexander Dumas story, The Corsican Brothers. There are native Hollywoodians, Jesus, who have waited a lifetime to get their pet project made, yet here we are previewing Double Impact, a Corsican Brothers for the 90s from the self-styled Muscles from Brussels, a performer who, just a few short years ago, barely spoke the language, yet alone understood the game plan of the American dream. Never the victim of studio hype, Van Damme has established himself as a major international martial arts action movie star by virtue of sheer talent, undeniable charisma, and an unshakable belief in himself and his abilities. It was this kind of confidence that allowed the young Van Damme to abandon a thriving gym operation in Brussels for the uncharted and shark-infested waters of LA. With little more than a pocketful of money, the year-old business cards of various producers and an English-French dictionary, Jean-Claude made his way to the gleaming spires of Hollywood. There, he made ends meet as a doorman, as a personal trainer, and finally, as a stuntman with Chuck Norris's action team. However, after walk-ons in such films as Missing in Action and Breakdance the Movie, Van Damme realised that he had to walk his own path, and he accepted an offer from Hong Kong-based producer Ung Si-yoon to play the main villain in the low-budget actioneer No Retreat, No Surrender. The article continues over the page along with the quote that audiences want to look at Van Damme even when he isn't kicking the living hell out of someone, along with this great shot of the star kicking his leg over Bolo Yeung before he gets a chop to the balls. The article continues to lay out Van Damme's career and life, going on to say how Universal Soldier was to be his follow-up film, and I do like this piece from the closing paragraph. Apart from his good looks, superb physique, and excellent martial arts technique, it's hard to see what audiences like about Van Damme. Having said this, there are performers who are better looking, bodybuilders with even more impressive bodies, and fighters who can kick just as well or even better than Jean-Claude. Why is it that he is a star and they are not? The main element that most martial arts stars have missing is charisma, a sheer on-screen presence that Bruce Lee had in spades and that Van Damme shares. Over the page we have two ads for two movie-themed stores, S&P Parker's Movie Market that offers movie star posters and photographs, and the Movie Boulevard shop that offers soundtracks, videos and memorabilia. We still need shops like this today. I remember going into one similar in Hollywood, California like over 20 years ago and just being blown away with what was on offer. And of course, typically I didn't have the funds to spend on things that I wanted. I do remember picking up a photo of Jackie Chan and Owen Wilson on the set of Shanghai Noon though. I must check that out and try and find it. I have no idea where I've put it. Opposite, Enter the Dragon, the film that put kung fu action into the history books. Enter the Dragon, made in 1973, was the most famous film to showcase Bruce Lee, the most striking of martial arts figureheads. Not only was he a superb athlete and supreme martial artist, but he looked every inch the menacing and charismatic virtuoso with his unique shrieks. His action-packed film made him a household name all over the world. 18 years on, after Lee's untimely death, this film is still as popular as it was then. Why? If we knew exactly why, then this would be the formula for every action movie. But with Enter the Dragon, it was the usual thing of being in the right place at the right time. The small article continues over Leaf, made to seem even bigger by this enlarged picture of the fight between Bruce and Han, played by Shek Ken. There's so much to say about this classic, you just wonder why they didn't really fill it out as one of their main stories, but regardless, I'll read on. It was by no means the first kung fu movie to hit the West. The film that started the kung fu craze was Keen Boxer, Five Fingers of Death in the USA, from the Shaw Brothers. But Enter the Dragon was the first to get the Hollywood treatment. With this semi-gloss, it was what the public wanted, and it fed their interest in kung fu. Today, everyone can buy a cut version of the great film with nunchaku scenes removed on video, but to see the keen of kung fu films on the big screen still keeps the public pinned to their seats. From the very first fight with Sammo Hung in the Shaolin Temple, to the thumbs up to Roper in the end scene. The film has it all, and amongst martial artists, even lines from the film are jokingly reenacted. For example, boards don't hit back, or it is like a finger pointing to the moon. Do not concentrate on the finger or you will miss all the heavenly glory. All these elements have built this simple film with a James Bond type plot into a keystone of kung fu films. But the man who really did the work never knew his dream had come true, a dream to become a film star and to bring out the best of Chinese martial arts and show it to the world. The only sadness to taint the whole legend is that everyone keeps hoping for a new Bruce Lee or a new Enter the Dragon, and unfortunately, they're going to wait a long time. The formula cannot be repeated. Even Brandon Lee, as an actor in his own right, is not his father. Following that, we get this colourful double-page spread ad for MAI Videotech, an ad that would eventually go on to be printed in black and white from what I can remember, and as a young teen, I always loved looking over these lists, although more so their martial arts titles obviously, but I had a blast going through and marking off which films I had and wanted. Page 24 gives us the very first China Beat Hong Kong movie news that carries over 2 pages and highlights the legendary Jackie Chan and fantastic Cynthia Rothrock in its pictures. I'll read the whole article because it's a pretty interesting one. Double Impact may have started a trend in twins meet martial arts movies. Everyone's favourite Hong Kong action star, Jackie Chan, has announced reunion of the Dragon Duo as his next venture, produced in conjunction with the Hong Kong Directors Guild. Chan, whose last epic, Operation Condor, will appear in the UK early next year, has promised to step up his one film a year production schedule, which is surely good news for his many fans. Dragon Duo, which will undoubtedly be retitled by the time you read this, obviously going on to be Twin Dragons, is lensing in Hong Kong and Canada and features Chan as twin brothers, one an orchestra conductor and the other a gangster. Our man in Hong Kong, Eye On Mike Leader, reports that filming of Cynthia Rothrock's latest Chinese actioneer, The Prince of the Sun, went smoothly. Now Rothrock was joined in this venture by Conan Ninja in the Dragon's Den Lee, Mr. Vampire Lam Ching Ying, and Blonde Fury villain Jeff Falcon. The flick's plot owes a lot to the Eddie Murphy starrer, Golden Child, and get this, Cindy plays a monk, with hair we're happy to report. The Hong Kong Chinese industry continues its fascination with Category 3 films. Though tame by Western standards, the slightly racy subject matter and scenes in these films represent a great step forward for Hong Kong cinema. Previously, graphic violence was in and virtually any expression of mature sensuality was out. Now producers are falling over themselves to spice up their existing formulas. Veteran action producers D&B, whose recent mainstream thrillers have fizzled, scored big with the superb Black Cat. This palimpsest of Luc Besson's Nikita stars Deeb's new find, Jae Leung, and Bloodfighter Killer's romance star Simon Yam. Shot mainly in English, sync sound and on location in Hong Kong, Japan and Canada, the film is a breakthrough in many areas, not least of which is the sex appeal of its star. D&B clearly have faith in Miss Leung. She's signed to a 6-year contract. Shaolin Temple star Jet Li is joined by longtime Jackie Chan cohort Yuen Biao in Young Wong Fei-hung, now known in the West as Once Upon a Time in China. Does this film's quality and success mark a return to the traditional kung fu flicks of yesteryear? More than a few fans hope so. Perhaps inspired by the long-term popularity of Bruce Lee and the current success of Van Damme, Golden Harvest are launching a new superhero who combines muscles with martial artistry. Fan Su Wong, last seen as a skinny little wimp in Rothrock's Above the Law, has been on a Charles Atlas course or 3 and is now a real tower of power. Harvest are launching him in the bizarre futuristic prison drama God of the Knife, which features everyone's fave rave fighting female Yukari Oshima as a villainess. Finally, it seems that reports of the career death of Sammo Hung have been exaggerated. Films like Gambling Ghost and The Goose Turns prove that even on a bad day, the master gives virtually any American action director a run for his money. There's an interesting blurb at the bottom though highlighting those screenwriters mentioned before, text by Bay Logan, information supplied by Mike Leader, Rick Mayers, Mark Houghton, Cinemart Magazine and Rick Baker. Let's move on. And finally, Hollywood powerhouse Clint Eastwood gets a 4-page spread on, well, him, I guess. I mean, I did enjoy his movies as a kid, I really did, but once I started getting into Hong Kong cinema, I just couldn't find the appeal any longer. Interesting guy though. Now the article itself is very 80s in its design, if I'm to be honest, but it does make for a good read if you're a fan of the original All-American hero, who, in my eyes, has always looked like an old man from what I can remember. Overleaf, this woefully designed page advertises the following issue on page 30 with a young Steven Seagal looking as gay as get out and that same picture from Die Hard 2 on the bottom. The sale date is January 10th for this particular February issue, which is incredibly early actually, and even though this one is for January 92, they would often release the publication kind of halfway through the month before. But I cannot help but be distracted by this horrendous ad opposite for Knockout Design t-shirts in Lancashire. I mean, just look at these photos. I don't know whether to laugh or run in fear. The models, the hairstyles, I think he has a mullet, the fashion, the designs themselves, and the cheap looking t-shirts. And they were bloody cheap at $4.99, but they do look it. Hilarious stuff. I hope they're still going strong today. And finally, on the back page, a great big ad for Van Damme's Double Impact, which looks pretty damn cool. It is a great movie. Anyway, that was the very first issue of Impact Action Movie Magazine, January 1992. Was it amazing? Not particularly, but I absolutely would have went back for more. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed looking back with me at this bonus episode of Deep Impact. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu, and I'll see you soon. So thank you once again for watching another video here on Invincible Asia. Don't forget you can check out hundreds of others here on the channel. You can also show your continued support by heading over to my new merch store or by checking out invincibleasia.com where you can read my full movie reviews and follow me on Instagram at InvincibleAsia. Until next time though, enjoy your Kung Fu and I will see you soon.